When me touch down, better broke down.
With Gamtel G-Fiber, now you can enjoy super fast internet in gigabytes. G-Fiber is affordable, stable, secured, and accessible to homes, businesses, and enterprises. With Gamtel G-Fiber, the future is speed. Gamtel, creating a brighter future in communication.
That's how she became mine and see the
All right.
Honey, did you remind him that the last time he sent the money, it was not enough to buy all the provisions?
Oh, sorry, I forgot to tell him.
Are you guys talking about money transfer to buy provisions?
Yes.
But don't you know about Baluwo?
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 What is Baluwo?
Baluwo is a service that your son can use to send provisions directly to you guys from the shop. And you don't have to worry about the exchange rate.
Tell me how Baluwo works.
It's very simple.
Just log on to baluwo.com and shop, or download the app on your phone. You can shop on the website or using the app to buy online basic products for your family and friends. With Baluwo, you decide what your money is spent on. Your money, your choice. Buy online products for your family and friends in the Gambia, Senegal, Nigeria or Mali. Baluwo, better than sending money.
Are you thinking of owning your dream homes? EJ Investment is here for you. Secure our quality bungalows with 2, 3 or 4 bedrooms, or our story buildings 3 or 4 to 5 bedrooms at very affordable prices with flexible payment plans at our Sanyang Seaview Estate, where you can enjoy the cool breeze with modern infrastructure such as tar roads, covered drainage system, modern electrification with street lights, gated entrance with security posts, and social amenities such as gas station, shopping mall, medical clinic, park, schools, children daycare, and a lot more. Our dedicated team of professionals will keep the estate clean at all times, provide security and patrol team within the estate premises, install latest technologies such as CCTV, Wi-Fi, home network installation, solar panel, and power backup system. Also, check out for our additional home facilities and interior design service such as premium tiling, wall plaster, home landscape, fingerprint home lock, and a lot more. Visit our office at Senegambia Kololi Highway and get a free site visit tour, or contact us on 4464-838. WhatsApp us on 3259220. Or you can visit our Facebook page or Instagram on EJ Investments. EJ Investments, we are first in properties.
In communication, connectivity is everything. We ensure that the links never sleep. Quantities and qualities, all in our data service, providing efficient, reliable voice and data service. We believe if you're not up to speed, then you're going backwards. Communications have to flow as fast as the speed of light. Whatever business you're in, having someone who understands your needs is critical. That is why we just don't offer you technology, we offer you solutions. Enjoy Gamcel's internet broadband anytime, anywhere. Your national operator, Gamcel, Yaibaram.
I get it.
Mbijan aganyadi.
Albaka.
Mbaka important.
Yo, nga transfer la sto.
Ya transfer la sto.
Ha, code Njie.
Okay. Code sana. Nsila ID soto.
Sa soto. Sorry. I get it.
Mbijan bro.
Albaka.
Mbaka.
Bara alla service o tariya. Mbare ki janna nun kunu bara tariya.
Jannom yona forest de bureau. Gambia tonkon na no mbari ya bere. Birim koyna fo kato.
Bari si kodo kino kato ni fo bolong blabe to.
56 branches mola soto Gambia jang.
Ha?
Gambia kono anin Gambia bantala bankol. Nka kodo kiya bere. Kodo sifa fo falindiro fo nyaadi lafta memmen na kodi to poto nin kodi maraw. Jannam number 1 di nyonta. Andum fana nata anoda enterprise sotale. Wolam nyindi ko domorol fana kol fana be firale le dadi ma nin domorol ni fana beteat. Gambia dawda yalo ngam fa kendol sotale je.
Wo moyo diat.
Apelenta
ni wo ka ni lafta nyelen kendol e bina.
Yalo bu kanyi la ko la baraka ba.
Yalo ndel chosano lo.
Abaraka.
Hello and welcome to the brunch on Kerr, Fatou, wherever you are watching us from. Ramadan Mubarak and welcome to this afternoon's show. We will begin as usual with news review, and this afternoon petrol prices go down. Goodwill gesture or market reality? We will discuss all that. We will also have updates on the country situation of the COVID-19 pandemic. United Democratic Party deferred expulsion of chairman. Is it a false start to dethroning of their West Coast chairman or a change of heart? We will discuss that also. And the Gambia marks May Day in a very, very unique way, as of course is the case globally. We will also visit the Gambia Teachers Union Credit Union and catch up with updates from their COVID or anti-COVID-19 activities, if you like. Now, with me in the studio to do all this is usual panelist, Nyima Kamara of the University of the Gambia. She's with us. Welcome, Nyima. And we have Gaba Cham, he's the Secretary General of the Gambia Trade Union Congress. And Nyang, of course, who's a commentator and economist on Gambian affairs. Welcome, gentlemen and lady.
Thank you.
Who is fasting among you? All of us. All right, we start the news review. Of course, it is petrol prices go down. Goodwill gesture or market reality. Now, that's the latest news that actually came on. We will, of course, discuss the government's intervention, $700 million food package that the Vice President said they had difficulties in getting people to offload or upload it, whatever where you are. We'll discuss all that. But you and I drive, all right? So we all greeted the news, perhaps with some relief 2 nights ago when it was said that now we can get fuel, mine takes petrol for $40. But the government is saying it's a goodwill gesture as part of the COVID thing, when actually we got it globally, and we have from domestic commentators that this is not a gesture that the government can take credit for. This is a reality of the market globally. What do you make of it?
I think it's a welcome news. It's been a long time coming. People have expected this to happen because when you follow the global market, I'm not an economist, but we have had news about petrol prices reducing to negatives. And for that reason, we expected a long time ago that the Gambian oil prices in the Gambia would reduce as well. And it's, for me, I think it's the activity within the market. It's the government do not necessarily have any control over this. If global prices go down, local product prices on local product would have to go down as a result of it. So when it happened this week, Obviously, as with any other thing that the government does, is they're going to take advantage of it and attribute it to their
credit for it.
To take credit for it. I think that is disingenuous because at the end of the day, the governments do not necessarily have a hand in how prices go up or go down. Although in certain instances we expect them to make regulations, but in this case, it's not to their credit.
They said it is a gesture that the government have initiated to, as part of the COVID relief, etc., etc. Do you expect it to reflect on the, for example, fares, etc., etc.?
It should have normally, if products that have influence on how fares are being regulated go down. If prices on those products go down, therefore we expect that prices on fares would go down as well, or fare rates would go down as well. But at the end of the day, if we allow the market to work by itself, that's when we expect things like this to happen. But anytime we want to regulate the market in a certain way, then therefore it can affect how prices go down or not.
You will be surprised to know that the transport union boss said, no, it will not affect.
So the transport union could say that they were operating at a loss before. So this could be their opportunity to make up for the losses that they have incurred in the past.
Exactly, that's what they've said. There's no need to reduce because, they've been operating on losses since. Now it's now that they really getting better. Now, the Transport Union, of course, is under another union. That's the main one. The Gambia Trade Union Congress Secretary General Gaba Cham is here. Gaba, what's your reaction to the petrol price going down? And the government said it's a goodwill gesture.
I equally support what Sister said. Because I am always interested in following the international market. All my TV program is about the international market because I always want to be current with international affairs. And we know that prices of fuel have been going down all along. Even when the matter between Iran, Iraq general, I just don't want to go in detail.
Back into history.
Right. But the following day, fuel prices in the world market gone down. So it continues to be until when there is lockdown due to the coronavirus, and closures of businesses and so on. And they were continuously producing fuel, and there is no one who will buy. So therefore the price was to start to go down. It is what determined now this situation.
So when the government said this is just a goodwill gesture for them, they're not being honest.
For me, I will say that it's due to the market realities. That there were, there is no buyer, things are going down and down and down. In fact, some few weeks ago, they were thinking of even having a deal to stop, production. But, but to no avail. So therefore, we all know, as the Economist said, people like Nyang will elaborate more on that on it. You see, it's supply and demand that determine price. The demand is no longer there. Maybe the means might be there, but the demand is not there because everything is locked down. You see, so this is the situation. So for me, I believe that is market realities.
For more things affecting workers on this COVID, etc. But what do you make of it? Should the drivers, should they reduce fares, or is now that they've got a better deal?
Anyway, it's a better deal, but one thing we have to realize as well. And we will discuss it at the office level because we'll always meet on Sundays to determine the past, what happened in the past, and what is next. Always. Yes, every Sunday. So, in this regard, remember that one, passengers on license to carry was reduced due to the public.
Well, was it even implemented? I still see people not adhering to that, passenger vehicles.
Some adhere to it. But if you compare with all what they are doing, they are incurring losses. You understand? So reducing this fuel price, you have to think of what were the losses behind. So that's another thing. And now then there we can think of what is the way forward. We want life easy for every Gambian.
Exactly.
Yes, even if we can make, transport fares to $5, we'll do so. So we have to scrutinize the situation.
All right. No surprise there. I know you will always protect and defend the interests of the workers or whatever form. Okay, Mr. Njie is the economist in the house. Please make a sense of for us out of all these things. Petrol prices go down in the Gambia. 2 nights ago, the government announced, and then everybody was surprised that they said it was a goodwill gesture as part of their COVID relief package, etc., etc. Nobody believed them. You.
Thank you so much, and good afternoon to the viewers. First and foremost, a goodwill gesture is when you sacrifice something of value. Here, the government didn't sacrifice anything of value for the simple reason we have what you call a price structure, because petroleum is a regulated product. The price structure has the cost of petroleum, meaning what you buy per metric ton. Then it has the freight cost, transportation to country. Then you have dealer's margin. Then you have importer's margin. And you have the taxes. All this should equal to the price. Because government is not in business to make money, but government is in business to provide services. And since it's a regulated product, they should make sure that total costs are recovered. Over the past 60 to 75 days, the global oil prices have plummeted. And in this plummet, government has been keeping a surplus. The surplus is the cost at the pump was more than all costs combined. So, what has happened? The government has come to the realization that petroleum has been overpriced in Gambia. We need to revisit, and up to today, they are not at the optimal level, meaning they are not at the floor. Petroleum prices can easily go down another $3 to $6, depending whether it's diesel or petrol. They haven't done that. And
why do you think that's possible?
Well, it's possible because, like I said, there is a price structure. It's not an arbitrary thing. You put in the dollar-dalasi rate, you put in the global price, it's called Platts. So you take Platts, not Western Europe, plus the premium for the importer, plus the dealer's margin and all taxes, and let's say it tells you that everything combined is $37 per liter. So the product should sell at 37 and everyone will collect what's theirs. So the government has failed the citizenry by not informing us, but propagandering and spinning. The government must always be duty-bound to inform its citizenry with good and accurate information with a genuine intent. This is not something to score a political point. But one thing that is good, and I'm happy, and I will give a pat on the back to the Ministry of Finance, that they have introduced a stimulus policy. The stimulus here is reducing the price of petroleum, gives the average Gambian consumer extra cash called disposable income to buy other things. So that will spur the economy, because the economy has now moved from containment of COVID-19 to mitigation and recovery, and mitigation is part of the stimulus package. So the Ministry of Finance has done that, and albeit late, I still say it's a good move.
But then all the same, they claim that this is a goodwill gesture. Absolutely, it's not the case.
It can't be the case. It is not the case. And that's why I am saying that the government is morally obligated and they are duty-bound to be the best channel of communication with the very people who constitute the government. We, the people. And technocrats are not politicians. They are not going to the polls to be elected. Therefore, they should not be doing political bidding for any politician whatsoever, irrespective whether it's the chief executive or the interest of the chief executive, because technocrats deal with policy at the technical level and they do what policy dictates, not what politics dictates.
But what about if their survival in their positions depend on the politicians?
Well, that's why we have been calling for civil service reform, and for the longest time we want civil service reform because the average Gambian technocrat is exposed. And to tell you this, we have seen what happened to Nyang. We have seen this musical chairs that has been going on these past few days, which is an affront to what is left of this mediocre public service that we have.
Topic we have come into. Thank God you reminded and jump onto it. Okay, let's stay still with this oil price and COVID matters. Have you been following the updates on the COVID $500 million expenditure? 143 million when we last checked. The permanent secretary and the Minister of Finance and other members of the committee said it can go on a daily basis. Do you agree with the justifications that they have to pay hotel bills, expensive hotel bills, buy ambulances, and etc., etc.?
I agree with the fact that the Gambia needs to come up with a formidable COVID response to make sure our numbers are low. But what has been lacking in this, because if you have a COVID response, it means it's an emergency. In an emergency, you suspend all procurement rules and guidelines. And that's where the government should have had an open governance architecture, that the committee that's going to handle this COVID money, to have CSOs in there. It is the taxpayers' money. We trust government, but it's more than trusting government. We want to be part of the processes. And that's why CSOs need to have a sit there. An organization like Follow the Money should sit there, because we have seen the procurement of rice. How was the selection process done? If we are relying on people who have been propagandering, they will not inform us. Like I said, there's a difference between information and propaganda. That's why we need independent third parties to sit there and still handle the issues as emergency and expedite them.
Good. We go straight to Njie on this COVID. You heard about the figures that 149 was spent. The last time we checked, the ministry on the emergency committee said this can rise every day. They had to spend millions on hotel bills and buy ambulances and other logistics. And then you also seen $740 million worth of goods supplied by government for relief. What do you make of all this?
Yeah, first of all, I would like to say that where transparency began, or should have begun, was to come out to explain to the nation where this response is going to be focused on. For example, there should be, I remember when we had them here, we wanted them to clearly state to us what plans they have in place. Because first of all, you cannot raise funds for something that is not planned for. So that is where transparency failed in the first place. So when you come back and say we spend money on so and so and so and so that you have not discussed with the public before, so that we can see whether this is something that we need, whether this is something that is tangible or not, then it becomes problematic. As far as the purchase of rice are concerned, I have expressed my views on this before. I think, again, it should be systematic. It's not just the president, per se, coming out to say this is my response to a crisis as this. You have a department that is solely responsible for this, and the department needs to follow a systematic process.
All in many places, it's the government that provides, but the government will always come and have a photo of such opportunities.
But
so it's happening in Senegal and other places. So.
But that is the problem. The government is not the president. Yeah. The president is part of the government.
It's the head of the government. So.
Exactly. So the way it is being suggested to us is as if the response is coming from the president. And that has a chance to be politicized. And I'm always worried that when we politicize responses like this, the people who are the most need of these responses are not going to get access to it.
Okay, my view is this. The government provides this. Our government, Gambia government, our monies. Anyway.
Yeah.
President come and take a photo opportunity, and his supporters say, okay, president provides. All that may not be a problem. My problem is the distribution channels they use. We know in this country, the local
that's the point I'm trying to make.
The local councils and the administrators are not.
Mr.
Let me just come in there before you come.
So I heard it's going to be the Alkalolu, the Sefolu, and the governors who are going to lead the distribution to the people and not the councils.
Okay. So
obviously,
the point I was trying to make here is exactly what you're raising.
Yeah.
Here, if the president provides it, as it has been suggested to us, it means that the president has an invested interest in this. What is the invested interest is to give an image that he is of benevolence to his people, and in return he expects them to be benevolent to him when election comes. If it is the government that provides it, it goes through the government institutions, the relevant institutions. The relevant institutions work with the relevant structures that are available within the communities. Here we are talking about the local governments. We are talking about structures at the district, at the ward levels. You have the ward councillors, you have the alcalos that you can work with. These people know their people best. And before you make procurement for products like this, you need to know what the people need. That is the systematic part of it.
What is an emergency? Everybody knows everybody needs rice and sugar and oil. That's what they want.
But most people may have rice and they may not have sugar. How do you know who should get rice and who should get sugar?
We will spend the whole year if you want to know who has got sugar and who has got...
It's a process that needs to follow.
Mr. Cham,
you want to come in here, yes.
You said something. It's happening the world over. It doesn't make it right. It happened in Senegal. It doesn't make it right. And Gambia is not Senegal. We want best practice. Look, we came from a 23 years of disorder. And what was is not what we want. And what was is festering and persisting, and it is painful. Now, here are three things that happen in this process. We all know that Gambia is a poor country and resources are scarce. Yes. So how can you go to an importer's warehouse in the port, you pick sugar, the laborer is charged $3 to load the sugar onto the truck, bring it to the Makati Square, offload it again for $3. After that photo op, they load it back on a truck for $3 and drop it again where it ought to go, $12. It's about time we tell the wastage that we see in this government that it's atrocious, and Gambians are poor, and the poverty we are going don't deserve our monies. Because today, if you say that we're going to have 1 million bags, be it combined rice or sugar, and everything comes to the Makati Square, offloaded and unloaded again, that's a waste. And secondly, I drove to Banjul a few days ago and I nearly cried because I saw trucks at the pitch of the Makati Square, and they have really destroyed the greenery in there, all for the name of a photo opportunity. That rice, sugar and oil had no business being dumped in that square. And this is what we are saying that we don't want in our new Gambia. If people have their own private funds, they can do what they're doing. Public funds belong to the people, and no one is doing any Gambian a favor giving them what is theirs.
It's right in one way. Why do we have to pack bags of sugar and get it to one place? Gambia used to put it in State House or somewhere, the same place, perhaps, and then cameras will take it, and then we will get to know that it's the president who is doing this. He's right in one way or the other, but maybe that's why too, because the uploading and the offloading took good the vice president. Maybe that's why they find it difficult to get people because it's a lot of repetition of work. But Gaba, how would you have loved that rice and that oil to be distributed?
In fact, when I heard about it,
and the trucks were involved, he's talking about.
When I heard about it, I thought that they already have a plan in place.
Okay.
And in terms of consultation with the municipalities across the country, because the municipalities knows the heads of every compound. Because they registered with them, they pay rates with them. And the municipal council will work also with the chiefs and the alcalos, who are also on the ground with the grassroots for the council. Then, everything could have been distributed fairly, as expected. So this was what I thought about. That it was how it was going to be distributed. You see? But to my surprise, it's not that way.
It's not that way.
Yes. Yeah. So I share the same opinion with sister and brother Nyang. Look, what they are saying is the fact. Decentralization is not a jargon. It's a philosophy that must be put into action.
Exactly. Now, why would you think the distribution God with using the alcalos, the governor. Because the governor also is some structure in the administrative system. Governor is should be the administrative head of the region. I mean, why is it bad to go to
the governor's role in local governance is still as controversial as it can be.
They're appointed by the president.
Appointed by the president.
They're not supposed to be in politics.
They serve as political figures, but when you're talking about real administration, you're talking about the local government chairman.
Yeah.
The local government chairman are the ones that interact on daily basis with the structures that are available at the local governance state. Yeah. Now, what you would expect if you're genuine about responding to people's need, it is their representative directly that you deal with, not just any political appointee that you put in place.
The reality now is that whether we like it or not, everything is politicized. The councils are all controlled by
problematic.
What looks like an opposition UDP now. Perhaps don't you think the president should have been more magnanimous? Ignore all those political sentiments and use the elected representatives, which has been chairman and councillors.
Yeah.
But where we are looking at, it looks like he ignored all those structures and used the governors and the Sefolu and El Kalulu because they are more likely to fall for his political gimmicks.
Yeah, but that's the reason why in a good governance process, politics is always asked to be divorced from administration. You have to have effectiveness, you have to have openness, you have to have efficiency within the system. So governance is different. At the political level, you can do your politics, but when it comes to responding to people's need, delivering services to the people, this is part of the governance process, and that needs to be done with honesty, with openness, with responsiveness to people's need. So the UDP can afford to do politics with what they are doing. Their accountability is going to come when people go to the polls. That's how we hold them to account. But with the people serving us every day, it's every day that we hold them to account, and everything they do should fall within the good governance processes and systems.
Okay, let's stay with the COVID and other things. Now we have 12 cases. Somebody told me the funny thing is that these people always count everything. They wouldn't deduct those who have recovered or those who have died. They would just maintain the same. We have 12 cases, 8 recovered, 3 active, 1 unfortunately died. Are you surprised that up to this level, even with our neighbors, Senegal, which are close to 1,000 now, the Gambia still have this, so to speak, very low amount of cases? Does it have to do with our non-testing of the people, or we don't care, or something like that?
Well, anything I say here about that would be a repetition. I think we've talked about this before, is when we are maintaining these cases at this low rate, it can be optimistic. It's a cause for optimism, but also we have to be careful about how many people are getting tested. If, say, for example, you discover a case, we expect that there are going to be contact tracings. If contact tracings happen, how many number of people have been quarantined after that? How much among those people, or how many among those people have been tested positive or negative? All of these are questions. But also, the other questions that linger is how many other people might have come into contact with those who were tested positive that the tracing have not reached. For example, if you meet in a supermarket, there may be a lot of people that you cannot trace through that contact. Yeah. So I am not going to be very much positive about these cases that we are counting now, unless there have been a mass testing. That is the only way that we can know for sure that we are in fact safe.
How about the safety precautions, the social distancing, the wearing of masks, and the decongestion of places? Are you impressed since?
So initially, the civil society especially have done a great work in that, sensitizing people. But again, like I've said, the sensitizations were all conducted on social media because you cannot meet people directly to talk to them about this. So I have traveled to the village, for example, where people from the combos will come and try to convince them that this is in fact just a myth, it doesn't exist. The governors are saying these things in order to get money. But in response to that, what I say is what we are getting in terms of grants and funds do not compare to what we are losing as a result of the lockdown. So the social distancing might have been working initially, but right now it's not. You go to the markets. In fact, I think when we started asking market vendors to come out from a certain time to a certain period, and then the rest of the traders to come out later on in the day, I think that must have been a very bad choice that we've made.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, people now rush to the market in the morning from that very tight
and the congestion
period.
you don't want.
Yeah, because you don't want to come afterwards when the market is locked. So it has become more congested now than even before. When you knew that at any time, any point during the day, you can go to the market and get the products that you want.
You mentioned monies, and that's, I reserved that for the Economist. And the minister was in the National Assembly. They asked him about some money that came as a loan from IMF or whatever. And the National Assembly Select Committee on those matters wanted to know why it wasn't brought to the Assembly to be rectified. And the minister said, for a long time, I mean, these things happened in the past, but then they never came to Parliament, which of course was challenged even by the former APRC majority leader in Parliament, who says that was never the case. You had that fiasco, or rather exchange between the Assembly members and the minister. What do you make of that? That one can have a loan taken and deposited at the central bank, which will be on lend to the government, yet the National Assembly shouldn't know about it.
Well, basically, it means there is a tradition. Tradition are things that happened in the past, accepted, and now a norm in society. Does that norm augurs well? Is that norm legal? It's questionable, and in this case, no. If you're just using one thing as a yardstick, that all loans to be contracted by the state must come through the National Assembly for ratification. Here is the caveat to that. These funds were for off-lending from the CBG, the central bank, to the Exchequer, the Ministry of Finance.
Yeah, just break that jargon for us. When they said on-lending, with on-lend to this, or off-lending.
All right. It means the Ministry of Finance, as it relates to that money, have no nexus or relationship with the lender, the IMF. The IMF gave the funds to the central bank. And most of the time, those funds, they're earmarked. And it's earmarked for balance of payment. It's earmarked for import cover. It's earmarked for exchange stability, meaning if the central bank needs to intervene, they can intervene and pump money to make sure that the dollar is stabilized. So therefore, the primary contact as it relates to the IMF was the central bank, because those funds were meant for open market operations, and those are monetary policy issues, not fiscal in nature. That was one thing. But I believe since this is an anomaly, it's time that we correct it going forward. To state that monetary independence is a prerogative of the governor. It's called monetary independence. What the how you call it again, the assembly has control over are monies that has been fiscalized, monies that have been put through the budget for public expenditure. But open market operations, I don't expect the parliament to have a say in that, because that defeats the purpose.
Are you saying the minister might be right?
Well, all I'm saying here is about not the minister being right or wrong, but theoretically, monetary policy must be independent, and the independence of the central bank is what creates monetary stability.
But it was a loan anyway.
That's not what I'm saying. If it's a loan that is to be brought into the budget for expenditure, then it means those funds are fiscalized. If those funds are fiscalized, it needs scrutiny of the parliament. But if those funds are meant for open market operations, those are monetary policy issues.
Even when it is the people who are going to pay for them.
No. Here is my point again. I want to make it very clear. If monies are in the budget, is for the government to spend on needs and services for the country. If monies are for monetary operation, it's meant to sterilize excess liquidity in the economy. It's meant to stabilize our foreign exchange, our dollars vis-a-vis external currencies. It's meant to boost or stabilize our import cover or our balance of payment. That needs monetary independence, and it should not be under the purview of the parliament. But monies that are going to be fiscalized and be part of the Gambian budget for onward expenditure, it needs scrutiny at the highest levels at all times.
All right, let's talk about this. How much money, as far as you collect, have we got externally for this COVID?
I think we need to understand one thing. EU gave money, and that's why the government must start communicating and not spinning and propagandering. The EU money, part of it is for the preparation of the constitutional process leading to a referendum.
Transitional justice.
They need to tell us
how much of this.
The World Bank has given monies to the government of the Gambia, and part of those monies was for a lab that government has already spent part of, and the other part was to get equipment for the lab. These things need to come straight, because if you tell me that you have 10 million, it means you have 10 million to spend. But if you tell me I have received 10 million and part of it was to cover for 2.5 for a particular activity, then it means you have less than 10 to spend. But the government is not communicating with us. And you know what? In the absence of good and credible information, the rumor mill thrives. And when the rumor mill thrives, that becomes the reality of the population. And our reality is not a reflective picture of what should be real, but unfortunately is the fault of the government. And the people who are handling government information are not informing us, but rather they are spinning and propagandering, and that is the problem.
All right, let's go to the trade unionists. What is the effect so far have you observed of all these measures that the government has taken under the emergency on the workers? And what has been your message, central message, this Workers' Day? Yes, it was marked Friday under these conditions. What was your message to the government?
My message to the government was to assist, to give financial support, or in kind, or in cash.
To the workers?
To workers that are affected.
Aren't all workers affected? Or there are some who are affected more than the others? Or?
Yes, there are some who are more affected than the others, because in some cases some are on rotation basis and still earning the same normal salary. There are others who are not even earning nothing, and they are not working. There is total closure of their
those are the unskilled ones who goes to the port. Or
being skilled, no, even the tourism sector, that's one.
For example, yes.
The private sector too. And then you have the small and medium scale enterprises.
So you want the government to intervene by providing money for the unemployed? How? Do they even have a data for that? You have a data?
Anyway, we are able to provide them with the data.
Okay.
We have given them all the data that they requested us to provide them.
Okay.
And some of the data we are very, very correct, because it was a survey that was done, sponsored by the UNDP, in collaboration also with GCCI, the Gambia Chamber.
So you have these weekly meetings with them. What do you discuss about the workers?
Yeah, what was finally done was that they hired a consultant who should, I mean, quickly, do an assessment, on the tourism sector, private, and the small-scale enterprises and donor community. You understand? And with a view to come out with a national response strategy. This is it.
That consultant has already been.
Yeah,
it's working.
Yes, has been recruited.
Yes.
And he's working.
Okay.
Yes.
And then,
so for us now, we are waiting the outcome of the consultant's report.
But see, that's the problem. If your house is on fire, you force. That's why we are saying the COVID response in its entirety should be 3 phases. The first phase was containment and sensitization. We have passed that stage because COVID is here. So the next stage is mitigation. Mitigation is to make sure that the economy happens to have a soft landing and the hardship for the people is reduced. How can the government do that? It's two-pronged. Today, businesses, especially restaurants and hotels, are closing down because they are not having enough business, and in their closure, they're retrenching people. So what the government can do is to, one, efface or erase the payroll tax. Make it 0. So that no one, even though the employer and the employee are both contribute, nobody pays. That will be an incentive for a business to keep an employee. Number one. Number two, so don't give companies cash. Today, you're talking about businesses in the tourism business. They're spending a lot on electricity. Give them vouchers, meaning Here is 5 million you can use now against October. Whenever you're paying a NAWEC bill, NAWEC can draw down on part of this. You are helping him.
Yeah, to maintain
and you're not helping him, you are helping the goose that's laying the golden egg.
Yeah.
The government of the Gambia needs to understand, without an economy, there is no taxation. So therefore, we must nurture our indigenous businesses to make sure they don't go under belly bust.
Good. We stay with the workers. When that consultant finishes his or her work, you expect the government then to act. In which areas you want the government to support the workers under this emergency?
In all respects.
Yes, like people who are working.
People who are working lose their employment.
Yeah, but as far as I know,
they lose income.
Yeah.
They are with family responsibility. They are asked to stay home, drinking and eating the air. That's the situation. Businesses have closed down. Incurred also with massive economic loss. This we have to understand. Just as Mr. Nyang is explaining. You see, in fact, we recommended all what Mr. Nyang has recommended here. You see, tax is.
The government said they're going to defer the tax. Mr. Nyang wanted total erase.
That is not done.
No, let's clear. I didn't say totally erase. Yeah. You can defer someone's income tax for future. Yeah. But we are saying that if you want to stimulate employment and avert unemployment, you need to induce and incentivize the employer to make sure he keeps his payroll rather than slicing it. That's number one. The next big problem we're going to have, our banking system will have a lot of toxic assets. Toxic in the sense that businesses have a lot of loans and they need to be paying these loans on a monthly basis. These loans are underwritten by deposit of funds deposited by private individuals who are asking banks to give them an interest for the time value of their money.
Yes,
the Central Bank of the Gambia needs to do two things and need to do it yesterday, not even today. Find a way to mitigate the interest elements on the ongoing outstanding liabilities owed by businesses, especially businesses in the tourism and other areas, because these are developmental expenditures. They are sinking monies on new cookers, new ACs, new buildings, and there is no way of monetizing it right now. So the CBG needs to come in. Then the next thing is our food safety lifeline. The imports that are coming in, because when our stocks go down, importers reorder. Now they reorder, they have a lot of dollars in their local banks. There are no flights leaving Gambia because international currency must be shipped out to a bank, and those international banks will pay their suppliers. Government, the central bank, need to step in and be the lender of last resort, because this is a last resort. Make sure that all importers bring their dollars to the central bank. Central bank uses its external foreign currency position and pay so that those food items come here on time.
On time, exactly.
Good. Nima, let's wrap up this now. Where we were was the COVID money, the effects it has on workers and and the amounts involved.
I mean, I agree with everyone. I was even surprised about Nyang's explanation about the money that is coming in and where it has been allocated. As a layman looking in, I've always been worried about these monies, because you wonder, are there strings attached? Why are we not being honest? Why are we not communicating effectively with the people as to why these monies are coming? Where are they being given to be spent on? What they have been given to be spent on? So I was very happy when, for example, that National Assembly interaction happened. It is to put them in their place, for them to understand that there must be processes to be followed and that they should follow those processes. As far as COVID-19 monies are concerned, I still don't have confidence in the outcome of the current response system that we have in place. I still believe that there must be a systematic, strategic process that needs to be in place that involve all stakeholders within the government and within the civil society and all other people that are affected by this, to sit down and really strategize as to how this response should look like, who should benefit from it, and in what ways they should. In the absence of that, whatever you do is just going to be non-productive.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, at this point, we'll change the topics a bit. We were talking still about structures, reforms, civil service reforms. All right. Last week, over the weekend, perhaps, there was an announcement which says there has been a major shift in the civil service. Permanent secretaries who were looking after sheep are now asked to look after goats, etc., so to speak. And the government said this is routine. It used to happen in the past. Directors were moved, from one trust to the other. When you heard that, what was the reaction? What do you make of this shifting?
Yeah, so I know it happens in institutions. Where I work, for example, at UTG, I think it's every 2 years where they rotate administrative staff. I always wondered why, though, especially for a bigger institution like the government, especially also when you see it being a remnant of how Jammeh used to operate, and you see that this is taken straight out of his book. So my speculation here is that it is done in order to deny them the necessary confidence that anyone would need to work in your position as effectively without any influence coming from outside. So, for example, if you know, for example, that your position is at the mercy of somebody else's choices, it makes you want to do things in accordance with their needs and in accordance with what they want. So, for example, again, my speculation is that it is done in order to instill insecurity in the work system, so that people know that they are not there permanently, and if they are asked to do something, they will do it. Because otherwise, if somebody is effective in a position and they are doing a good job, why would you want to move them to somewhere where they would need to relearn everything?
Especially if that is their expertise.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So
that's why Mr. Nyang touched on the recent reshuffle of.
That's what we are talking about now. He jumped because now we are on the topic.
Myself, the day I heard about it, I went to Ministry of Trade because I know the permanent secretary is being transferred
to agriculture,
to health. And the permanent secretary spent all his life
in trade,
and employment, and that is his field of study. Is what he knows. Yes. And the world we are in specialization.
Yes.
So I went to him to confirm the reality.
And what did he tell?
I told him, if you leave this place, the ministry is going to be handicapped totally, because all those young employees you see in that ministry undergone training through Mr. Tamfa.
Absolutely.
So if you get that person out of that ministry, the ministry will handicap. And you cannot take a carpenter to be a doctor. Then what did you expect from the patients?
They will die. They will die. Either in this, in this.
The system since Jammeh time and now have similarities.
The government claim it is.
They are far different.
It used to happen even in Jawara's time.
No, but in Jawara's time, you will go round in all aspects. Yes. Up to the level, you must pass through the hierarchy.
Yes. Or if you reach Palm Secretary, that you hardly get moved there.
Thank you very much. Or if you are moved, by that time you are fully well equipped in any area.
Any other area.
You see, that is not what is happening from Second Republic to Third Republic. You see, let's always make sure that, people are giving positions to handle in accordance with their professions.
Thank you.
Could it be that, Mr. Nyang, okay, there were directors too, Mr. Manjang, Social Security, we all know how all the controversy that surrounded his coming and the praises, the plaudits he got for reorganizing that place, even in these COVID measures, everybody applauded Social Security for the measures undertaken. He definitely had a very good reputation at that place. Suddenly he's moved to Senegal to be a diplomat, Senegal permanent secretary, etc. I've seen a lot of comments about it. People are very fired up that he's politically motivated because maybe he's believed to be close to the UDP, and Barrow is cleaning all the UDP elements. What do you make of all that?
What I make of it is very simple. This country of ours we so love is very allergic to good people. We are sensitive to good people. Mr. Manjang of Social Security is what you call a disruptor in the business space. We call him someone who comes in and disrupt the status quo. And people hate change. But the change Mr. Manjang brought about was positive change, because pensioners and stakeholders always care about the bottom line, the dollars and butoots for their benefits. And he has made them better off when he found them worse off. What has happened is something that is very, very concerning. And we need to start making sure we do something about it. You see, the Ministry of Finance is a very powerful ministry. All the state-owned enterprises are basically indirectly under the control of the Ministry of Finance, even though they may have a line ministry, let's say Gamtel, Ministry of Telecommunication, but because they are the custodians of the government's wealth and equity, they control. And this is a weakness in our system that we need, because what happens when someone controls, they want to have dominion over you. When they have dominion over you, it may not be in the best interest of the greater good, but it may be in the interest of perpetuating that micro system within our macro system. So what I think needs to happen, this is a learning lesson. 3 things we need to learn. Civil service reform is long overdue because there is no tenure. There is a difference between a technocrat and an administrator. An administrator can be moved from wildlife to foreign affairs because they handle files, minutes on processes of administrations. Technocrats have specialized skills for specialized operations. A fiscal economist who only knows budget cannot be functional at higher education because he doesn't know what the outcomes that are expected at higher education. So the movement of top civil servants from point A to point B is for the weakening a weakened civil service, and it has put Gambia at a disadvantage. And the president, if he listens to himself and have good memory, he touted civil service reform in the early days, and what he has done is counterproductive to civil service reform, albeit we haven't seen a wholesale civil service reform yet.
What could have been the motive? If what the government said was just making the civil service more effective, what could have been the problem, the motive?
Simple.
Politics?
Purging.
Purging.
You know, there's what you call purging. Purging in the layman's language is weeding out. And there's a difference between an enemy and a perceived enemy. Unfortunately, some of these people are not enemies of the state. Someone like Mr. Manjang has more to lose coming and helping the state than leaving the state. It's a minus when he leaves the state rather than him being in it. But unfortunately, when there are no systems, discretion becomes the rule, and discretion is what is running this country, and unfortunately the Gambia is worse off.
So are we going back to square one, like Jammeh used to do? I don't like your face, or I heard that you are UDP or you are opposition, so you get out. You either do as I say or you get out, no matter what contribution you can make.
I don't think we have ever been beyond square one. I think we're just doing things the way that they have always happened. Again, I think it's important, just to add into what Nyang has said, it's important for people to understand that they can't enjoy job security. Even if it just means working where you are working, where you have experience, where you have expertise, and not just necessarily being removed from the government. If you have expertise in, say, for example, finance, and you're moved to youth and sports, where you do not have expertise.
Yes, that's what happened.
Exactly. You feel constant sense of insecurity because you don't know the job that you're doing. Exactly. So you are reliant on somebody
knows that well. You know, Njie is a permanent secretary of the Ministry of Trade, but he's opposition. He is he's sabotaging all our things. What will the president do?
Simple once again. Here, the problem, you know, when you have a problem, you need to fix it. every Gambian has the right to affiliate with whoever they want to, be it political, social, or whatever.
But
it's not the government's business.
But that shouldn't interfere with it.
No, it's not the government's business to regulate my affiliation. But guess what? The government is using this because technocrats should not be strange bedfellows with politicians. They should not wake up on the same bed. But unfortunately, they've been waking up in the same bed because the system has disintegrated. But I want to take you to a different ballpark that the COVID is shrouding. We are talking COVID, and it has become a veil. And this veil is making all of us sleep. And sooner or later, come August, September, you will want to wake up. He will want to wake up. I will want to wake up. And we find ourselves at a very big disadvantage. And guess what that is?
The Constitution.
The Constitution of the Gambia has been hijacked and railroaded by people who are overflowing us and overbloating us with COVID. And guess what? Election is around the corner, and we may resort to the 1997 Constitution, which will be detrimental to everything we have collectively fought for. Let's have our eyes on the prize and make sure that COVID goes, but in parallel, the president take the draft that has been handed to him to the parliament. That is important, and COVID is putting it aside. Another thing is important that we are not talking about. There is what you call windfall profits. Windfall profit means your total cost today is 10 and you were charging 30 because your total cost then was 30. Case in point, NAWEC and the kilowatt cost per electricity. The price of fuel has gone down by over 79%, and fuel is a major input of NAWEC's operation, and consequently the kilowatt hour hasn't come down to reflect.
Nothing has been said about it.
And we are missing that, and we need to bring it to the forefront. Let NAWEC stop having a windfall and give me the true cost per kilowatt, so that what I pay is what I consume. Today what I pay is not what I consume. And that is stealing.
Absolutely.
And endorsed by the state, and it must stop.
Good. Let's go to Mr. Cham to wrap up. You said you are in consultation with the government through a consultant who is assessing what the interventions you want the government to do now. You found the permanent secretary who probably was actually facilitating all this, now removed to another ministry. Now, just to sum up, what exactly did the minister say about these things? He too made a statement, I guess. What do you understand from his statement?
Well, his statement, he already mentioned about, what government is planning to do in response to the problem of this COVID-19 and employees that are affected. And so just like how the situation is,
yes.
You know, is what also he also explained, and then certain policies that are put also in place, you see, in addressing the plight of the workers and so on and so forth.
Yeah. But finally, what's your message? We are wrapping up.
Yeah. Finally, my message is that I'm sending my message to the workers. Because we have a promise and we have an agenda, and the agenda is to protect and promote the interests of the workers of this country, particularly at this stage where the majority of the labor force of this country are asked to stay home without any earnings, without any income, that we still keep our hands together and still keep our intentions together until we see the outcome of the report, and from there we take it off and let all of them comply with the COVID-19, preventive measures and protective measures. Likewise, also the public emergency, regulations, and the strategic transport emergency powers regulations as well. Because if you are finding justice, you should always be with clean hands. Maybe they are hearing, they understand what I am saying, because it's our own thing. And then also, I'm also advising government as well to understand that, they have social responsibility towards the taxpayers who voted them to power and who are the actors of development and who paid their salaries. And they are in a funny situation. No one knows when COVID is going to get over. And for that matter, their socio-economic situation is definitely precarious. And for that matter, let them do all their best to address the situation. Thank you very much.
Gaba Cham, Secretary General of the Gambia Trade Union Congress, thank you very much for joining us. We're going to have a short break. When we come, we'll quickly go to the remainder of the items. That is the UDP. Is it a false start to dethroning a chairman, or is it a change of heart? We'll have that shortly after this commercial break. Bro.
If you ever think of buying good quality meat at unbeatable price, think Magilac Butchers, your only suitable solution for quality meat for you and your family consumption. Our comprehensive range of meat products include minced meat, beef slices, top side, knuckle, rump steak, silver side, tenderloin, strip loin, and forequarter. We offer consistent value, quality, and service through animals grass-fed and bred, especially for their meat. This makes the meat much more tasty, succulent, tender, and easy to cook. All meats at Magilac Butchers are halal, including for the first time in the Gambia, the new Mongolian whole lamb, available only at Magilac Butchers. Rush now and visit Magilac Butchers on Caraba Avenue, opposite the Petrogas petrol station traffic lights. For inquiries and orders, please call 7688-688. That is 7688-688. Magilac Butchers, the home of quality meat and chicken products at unbeatable prices.
Albaka.
Albaka, important.
Yo, nga transfer la sto.
Ya transfer la sto.
Ha, code nyingi.
Okay. Important. Nsila ID soto.
Sa soto. Sorry. Agada.
Bijan bro.
Albaka.
Mbaka.
Bara alla service o tariaka.
Mbare.
Mo ki janna nun kunu bara tariaka.
Jannom yona forest de bureau. Gambia tonkon na lo mbari ya bere. Birim koyna fo katon.
Bari si kodo kino katon nim fo bolong blabe.
56 branches mola soto Gambia jam.
Ha?
Gambia kono anin Gambia bantala bankol. Nka kodo kiya bere. Kodo sifa fo falindiro fo nyaadi lafta memmen na kodi to poto nin kodi maraw. Jannom number 1 di nyonta. Andum fana nata another enterprise sotale. Wolam nyindi ko domorol fana kol fana be firale le dadi man domorol ni fana beteat. Gambia dawda yalo ma fa kendol sotale je.
Wo moyo diat.
Apelenta
baraka ba. Ni lafta nyelen kendol e bina.
Yalo bukani la ko la baraka ba.
Yalo ndel chosano lo.
Baraka.
Welcome back to the brunch on Fatou. We move ahead now with the rest of the items. We of course talk about the UDP Brikama chairman crisis, and we will also talk just a little bit about, still with the COVID, we are now going to talk the plight of the teachers. Now, the Gambia Teachers Union, Credit Union, is with us here, represented of course by the General Manager, Mr. Jufri is here. Now, first of all, before I ask you to tell us what the GTU Credit Union have been doing to address the plight of the teachers, I'll first ask you, what do you even make of the teachers who are staying at home with their kids, the Ministry of Basic and Secondary Education's media, lessons by media, and the plight of the private schools teachers who are claiming that, they are without salaries. What is your union doing about all this? I have an impregnated question.
Thank you, Lamin. Should be good afternoon now.
Yes, now.
Firstly, let me, belatedly congratulate my colleagues. We call them giants. They're currently lying down.
One of them is here. He has two surnames. I don't know which one are you referring to now.
Yeah, this is a very good opportunity to say to my colleagues, well, this is an unusual May Day we've just come out of.
Exactly.
My colleague, the Deputy General Secretary, was on the media yesterday, I understand. He made a statement. These are unusual times for all of us, but we understand and we are happy to be part of what is happening, the evolution.
Exactly.
We continue praying that the containment, mitigation, and all those things do have an effect, and that we come through this safe at the end of the day, and humanity continues. Three very difficult questions to give a straight answer. Talking about the teachers at home, they have no choice. I can tell you teachers are more comfortable when they are with their children. And at the moment, they're all they're having mixed feelings. They are happy that the kids are away for their safety. So they can be brought back to us for us to continue with them. But we are missing out a lot on our curriculum.
Okay.
There are classes that we are supposed to be doing their examinations now.
Exactly.
They are not doing that. We have a couple of interventions in the form of online classes.
Yes.
The impact of that has to be evaluated at some point. We cannot give a definitive,
You have criticisms already.
We know.
That it may not be effective.
Yeah, so the ministry came up with this intervention. There are so many questions that you still can ask. Sometimes I do watch some of those presentations, and what is missing greatly is the interaction between the teachers
teacher and the pupils.
Okay. And because you don't have that interaction, you struggle with feedback.
Exactly. I see teachers looking at the screen as if they are looking at the audience.
Exactly. So if you're not getting feedback, you're not sure how successful or otherwise your presentation has been. So with all what is happening on TV, we are in no position as a nation to know if that investment will impact the children.
And
are they watching?
Sometimes you see the broadcast meant for TV is brought in for radio. The teacher will say, as you can see, when actually what you can do is just listen.
I know
so all those things are...
the fluent English speakers will tell you the knee-jerk reaction.
Exactly.
I think at some point we just wanted to do something, hoping we will keep the children at home.
Least,
because as a society, I think we were struggling with discipline. And because of that challenge we are facing, most parents outsource that to the schools. And because the teachers are not specialists, carers, mostly the children are left without the training that they should have. It's unfortunate. I have seen parents say to me, look, I'd rather leave the children in the street than keep them in the house because they will drive me mad. So I wonder what kind of parenting that is, because really the teacher is just complementing the training aspect. The teacher has other functions, and the time span that the teacher and the child spends in the class is not enough to build a whole human being. Requires some psychological background, requires some sociology, requires some, so a lot of things combine to build a humankind. And unfortunately, we are outsourcing that
to the teachers who do not have enough time. So my colleagues do struggle. They work a lot. When I was in teacher training college some 30 years ago, the training curriculum has changed.
Absolutely.
Yeah, the numbers have changed. When we were at college, Gambia College, Brikama, less than 200 students occupied the entire campus.
Absolutely.
That would be one classroom now.
Yes, that's true.
So, you know, a lot of things have changed, and
or at least one stream.
Yeah, so really, it's unfortunate. I think we should continue following the rules so that we stop this spreading further, and we hope at some point that we go back to normalcy.
Good.
Or a new normal, whatever it is.
Let's get down to the brass tacks. How are you addressing the plight of the teachers?
Yeah. Firstly, when we got the information and the guidelines came from WHO and the government of the Gambia, we had an emergency meeting, and I'm referring to the management of the credit union. I do work a lot with the trade union. You know, you have the trade union is the mother.
And that's the mother.
Then at some point, she was lucky to have a child. That's the credit
That's
union.
the credit union.
So I sit at the credit union, have been for the past 24 years. But I work closely with the trade union side. So we sat down and looked at what we had to do. Our teachers, our members were asked to go home. We were scared about what would happen to their income. We're talking about the service industry at the moment losing a lot of workers or having workers threatened. But we are also seeing this, that if this is to be in the long term, in the long run, similar issues will happen with teachers' allowances, with teachers' salaries eventually, and everything. Society is the one threatened.
Exactly, yes.
But when we sat at that meeting, we felt two things must happen. We must do everything within our power, using all the resources at our disposal, to ensure that access to financial services are not hindered, they are not restricted. We continue to observe our policies which made it possible for us to get here.
Exactly.
But then blend them, you know, if you like, punctuate those policies with some level of flexibility, where flexibility is not going to threaten the existence of the organization. So a lot of balancing was required.
Exactly.
And this made it possible for us to shift our emphasis from having to be qualified to access a service to being able to provide evidence of or ability to repay.
Exactly.
That became the emphasis. Again, within that, we know we need to control the liquidity levels to continue to exist. Most of the people coming in, because this country's finance system, Nyang will explain that, is cash-based.
Follow you intently because you touch his area.
It's cash-based. Because it's cash-based, we do not have a system where credit is readily available. You have to negotiate it. In Kenya, for instance, you can use M-Pesa to distribute money. In the Gambia, they have to physically enter a brick and mortar institution to be lent money. Yes, we know the money wallets are coming up, but I don't think we have graduated to a situation where you can transact a loan on those
cards.
So because of this, we not revived, we empowered our consumer unit. Within the credit union structure, we have a consumer cooperative, which is where credit union started in 1844. In fact, when I got this invite, I thought I should I should be ready to talk to you about how it started globally and how it even came to the Gambia and how we got involved as teachers 24 years ago. But you see, the point I'm making there is the consumer unit is doing the shopping for our members. Rather than give them cash and expose them further to queues in the shops. give them checks to go to the bank,
which I have
exposed
seen,
to another check,
the 2 banks here,
or standing outside.
Yeah.
So at our level, because our premises all over the country. By the way, we are operating 8 outlets, headquarters in Carnifing and 7 branches. We are right up to Basse.
Interesting.
We are giving prominence to consumer goods. So we have rice, sugar, oil all over the country.
I see.
So that when a teacher comes in, they can transact on the form. And we give them these products. They load them on a taxi and they go home straight from our premises. But the other dimension is, I'm sure Nyang will be asking, what's the economic benefit of this is? We have been, since COVID-19, but even before that, we have been giving overdrafts for free to our members. And this is unrestricted. Once you are a member...
When you say free means you don't have charges.
No, we are not charging anything.
Like the banks do.
Yeah, because we have a fallback. The fallback is, this is a membership-based organization, and the members subscribe monthly for the survival of the institution. So that is what we transform into our ledger, whatever. And once your membership is established and you have savings, which is key. I really want to talk a little bit on the significance of savings in what is happening around us. So we're giving free overdrafts, and the explanation is simple. You are paying for the sustenance of the service monthly. So it's not strange. We've been doing it for a couple of years. So now it's even more important that our members can come forward and draw against their salaries so they can meet the immediate additional cost of maintaining their families, caused by both an increase in the cost of prices in the market, as well as the panic that we are all feeling that we need to stock our stores. I mean, I had a store in my house. I never cared what I put in there. Now I look at the store and I'm not waiting for my wife to say, Daddy, this is
you need to
going
replenish.
low. I know myself because I'm peeping into that place every day. It's the feeling in us that something is about to happen and we are responding, on impulse. All this is pushing our members to our premises. But all this is good. You see, savings, and you'll be wondering where is all this money coming from. I talked about 24 years ago when a teacher could not have. I was a teacher myself. A teacher could not have access to a loan of 1,000 to buy a bed. I went to schools to teach. I needed a better bed than the one I could afford going to the...
I had a bamboo one when I was...
Exactly. And I couldn't afford a bed. They called it Cham Jerejev or whatever it was.
Because it's made by my people, Cham people.
Exactly. So you see, savings is the factor here. And that's why those of us who are activists in this promotes the culture of savings. Societies that do not save are societies that are more vulnerable. And as soon as vulnerability looms in the environment as a result of these volatilities, you are done. Because you don't have anything to fall back on. All those teachers who were poor 24 years ago, today can walk into the premises and say, look, out of the amount I have kept here, I want that's not negotiable. It's your money.
I want Nangam.
And I'm going to do X. Whether that is improving your housing condition, buying furniture, educating a child. You mentioned University of the Gambia a couple of times here. I can give you a list of you can have a queue from here to Coastal Road Airport of people who have gone to that university and financed their own education from their own savings account at the credit union. So I think we have been doing a lot, but these two things are significant. The overdraft, the access to overdraft, and the consumer goods. That is not stopping the credit union still giving out loans for development, for building houses, for buying a car, for doing this and doing that.
No other professional group can you remember have succeeded in putting up a credit union like this? Haven't seen one of the lawyers, journalists have known.
In the Gambia.
In the Gambia.
Yes, but you know.
Or the police have one, is it?
Yeah, the police have a very, very strong.
Very good one.
Yes, a very good
one. They are probably richer because they do when they go on foreign missions, they get dollars.
yeah, you know, Richard,
your teachers don't go on peace.
Yeah, we do not go on peace teaching. Yes, I know. But you see, what we have done over the last 24 years is build in the mindset of the teachers. The younger teachers still raise some questions about the viability of this project.
Yeah.
But those senior teachers who were here 30 years ago,
they know the difference.
Actually do. And now, they confess every day.
Exactly. Now, before I get Nyang and others, let's go straight to the plight of the people who are not in government schools. They are in private schools. They are not being paid because the private school owners are saying, well, the children who pay school fees are not coming.
From my
What's the union's role in that?
Yeah, the union is so concerned about that. And this group also are in two categories. You have private school teachers or staff who are members of the teachers union and the credit union. And you have private school staff who are not.
Wow.
Because by its nature, unions represent their members.
Exactly.
So we are dealing with the situation of those who are members. That doesn't mean we ignore the other, because we have a recruitment function.
Exactly.
And we use that usually as, in quotes, I don't want to use bait, motivation.
Okay.
We go to them and say, look, you know we are running after your stuff, but you are not contributing to the survival of the institution. We are using other teachers' resources to lobby for you, to negotiate for you. Is that fair?
Okay.
And you see them putting their heads between their hands, and they are saying, no, I never read this way. No, come on board. That's where you belong. The union is there to represent all of us. Let us ensure we empower it by giving it resources, by being members, and by bringing to us assignments that will keep us busy. You know, if they fail to do that, our staff would have nothing to do but to go on Facebook and read emails. Let them come to us and give us work to do. So those that are not members, we have information emanating from the ministry that some schools have already started having a problem paying their wages.
Yes, I met a group.
And April was a tough one for some schools. May be the pinnacle.
Wow.
That's a problem. Those that are under the union facing similar situation, all we can do for now is to negotiate with the proprietors. Because we cannot take money from the credit union to balance their deficits. We are doing that for a lot of private schools. We do a lot of investment in schools. Schools do have accounts. We call them institutional accounts in the credit union. Not necessarily members. Because the interpretation would be funny. They will be, once they are members, they are entitled to all the services that members are entitled to. So we describe them as institutional accounts. But the benefits that accrue for them is they have access to short-term, medium-term loans. We have even given loans to private schools to build structures. So the question, what do we have for them, is the table between us. As usual, let them come. We are solution providers. That's what credit unions do. That's what we have done all over the world. We are in 6 continents. You know, in fact, almost every country on earth. With 200 and, well, you're talking about the global membership, 274 million people belong to credit unions. That's not a small number. I was in the US some time ago and I saw the statistics. 1/3 of Americans belong to credit unions. But if you're talking about membership of cooperatives, it goes beyond the hundreds of millions. You're talking about 1 billion
people in the world depend on the cooperative model. So let them come. It's about our 6th principle, because we survive on 7 principles.
Right.
Principle number 6 is cooperation amongst cooperatives.
I see.
And the philosophy, another 3 words, very powerful words: people helping people. That's the philosophy of cooperatives. That's what we thrive on. So let them come across.
So what these teachers can do, I'm talking about if the schools, the institutions are not coming, the teachers are suffering, and if they happen to be members of your cooperative, can they walk in and say, I want some money?
The answer is yes. If they are listening, my invitation is open to them. Come over to the credit union, walk into any of our branches. You don't have to come to Banjul. We are in Basse, Brikama Ba, Soma, Kombo Brikama, Bara, Farafenye, and Wasu. We are in Wasu.
Perhaps Soma?
Yeah, we are in Soma. Okay. We are in Soma as well. In fact, it was the first regional office we built. Okay. So we are all over the country. Walk in and join us today. I have, over the last 3 weeks, given loans instantly to new applicants to help them go and deal with issues in their households. But you see, it's all about our philosophy. It's people helping people.
Babukar Juf, General Manager, Gambia Teachers Union, Credit Union, you had him. He has quite an elaborate program.
Well, he has done a great pitch for his cause.
Absolutely.
He has sold to me the value proposition he has for his membership. And basically, whatever he's doing is advancing the cause of his membership. But we have 3 problems structurally in this country, and I'm happy that he belongs to a segment that this society has put on the wayside. Teachers, nurses, policemen, firemen, are people that we have left out of the development agenda and still expect significant significant social dividends from them, meaning securing us, teaching our people, and caring us. If you look at the budget, the operational expenditure of this government, and you look at these 3 sectors, the nurses, dispensers, teachers, policemen, and firemen, they are at the bottom of the totem pole, and yet they are the drivers of our development agenda as a country. The reason why your teachers are able to save today has now become a problem for our educational sector, because they're giving extra classes to students, thereby not finishing the curriculum when they're supposed to finish it in the classrooms. We have a bigger dynamic that we need to address, meaning teachers should be well housed, they should be, their mobility moving up and around the schools must be well taken care of, and they should be well remunerated.
Absolutely.
And these 3 things have been lacking from independence to date. And we are in a country where the demographic is showing us we have a lot of young people who are going to schools. Unfortunately, the results that we have been seeing is a cumulative effect of the negligence and the neglect of this sector by government. So yes, you are doing a good job, but in as much as you're doing a good job, the complementary help that should come from government should have been low-income housing for your teachers. Should have been mobility. When I say mobility, not give a teacher a car, but schools should have ways and means of their teachers coming to classes on time and going home on time. And thirdly, if they're well paid, they won't be worried about giving extra classes. So,
Nyang, I'm not sure I can come in.
Yeah, you can come in right now.
You touched on the spine of what actually led to the credit union being formed. We knew very well that we were not well remunerated, but we love to teach. To date, I want to go back to the classroom and teach. I'm approaching retirement. I'm preparing myself to go back to the university to teach. Every teacher wants to teach. Absolutely. Unless you are not a teacher of choice.
Of choice, yes.
So the 3 things you mentioned were the ones I was even challenged to set out 24 years ago to address, to tackle, so that we continue to retain teachers in the system for the Gambia. You mentioned mobility. 5 years ago, some innovation came in through our discussions, and we thought we need to bring mobility. Teachers were posted to certain schools and they would say, no, I'm not going. Why? Because I understand if I get into that community, I'm not coming out until on Lumo days. So as a result, I'm not going. Others will tell you, no, I will not go because I understand there's no market within a radius of 10 kilometers of that school. So we brought in motorcycles from China, and we're still bringing them.
I see them. Yeah.
You see them around, GTUCC.
GTUCC.
We have changed the number plate. You won't realize there are new ones, because that number plate was also being abused by some people who would steal the motorbikes and then use them to smuggle, illicit things. And so we've now used the ordinary numbers. But we have brought into this country more than 2,000 motorcycles. And that is making it easier for teachers to opt to go to the regions. They can move from their schools to the nearest centers, nearest lumos, even when they are sick at night. Instead of waiting for the ambulance driver in the morning, they can carry each other on that bike to the nearest health center at night. And we have these motorcycles all over the country being distributed. The issue of housing, over the last 5 years, we have done everything under the sun to start providing, making access to social housing. I've even attended a social housing conference in Washington at the invitation of UNDP. Knowing a couple of things that we are doing, they said I should listen to those people, come back, but whenever we did the analysis, we realized that because of the third element, which is poor remuneration, teachers could not afford it. If you should have TAF on this program, he will remember TAF and Balde. Yes, I met them some 15 years ago. And I said, my people retire and continue living in staff quarters. Governments go in there and eject them. They go to the street with their 30 years of luggage because they have no place to go. But when they did the housing before Yarambamba, it was 300 and something thousand then.
Which was
no average teacher could afford that.
Even dream of it.
Yes, during your career of 30 years, you couldn't pay 300,000.
No,
my brother, but teachers still wanted to stay and teach.
Yes.
And they are still there. This morning, I received another proposal. When the change took place, I had met a lot of investors, even when the president was at the hotel, before he went to State House. When investors came in, because government is aware of what we are doing, they would call to say, look, they are investors, they're talking about housing. When we do the costing, I have tens of proposals in my laptop. We still have not reached the break-even point where the investor will make a markup, the teacher will afford it and retire in dignity. So the credit union now can also count, we can count hundreds of houses where we have cooperated with our members, doing it in phases. Of course, they pay, on the chin. It's very difficult for them.
Absolutely.
Because they part with everything almost. And that's where the additional revenue comes in to make up for their deficit. So yes, I really had to talk about this because Nyang, as if you were there when I was given an assignment 24 years ago. Those were the three things that our seniors, our pioneers said, this must be addressed. I wish, they're all resting in peace.
Absolutely.
Mr. Ndao, Mr. Jallo, Tamsir, Pa Ibrahim Fall.
Mention them all.
Talking about Yahar Jallo is alive. Thank God, we pray that she is here for a longer time. Miss Adel Sok, Omar Jendur. They were all on the national.
He was the pioneer, the first president, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was the first president when we started was Pa Fall. Just for a few years, then Omar Ndur for 10 years, then Lamin Marong for 5 years, Martin for 5 years. So I've worked with 4 presidents. Currently it's Ismail Assise. All of them had this vision, and they said, go out and do something. And the amazing thing, and this is what cooperation does. Just like what happened in Rochdale in 1844. When we were starting this, we had no idea. We were all teachers.
Absolutely.
I had no background in economics. I wish I had Mr. Njie next to me.
Yes.
You know, we started without an idea. And our philosophy then was, let's just make sure we are keeping evidence of what we are spending and what we are receiving. One day we will have an accountant. And today we have a staff strength of 120.
Wow.
You know, a third of them are graduates.
How large is your membership now?
30,000.
30,000 members.
30,000 members. Total savings, 400,000. That's retained savings. If you include the withdrawals, we are in the billions over the last 2 decades. But retained savings is 400 million, and our assets 500 million. We have reserves of about between 15 and 20 million.
Wow. Mr. Chairman, I think this is what needs to happen. You see, public policy has moved from the textbook to innovative solutions. And this is a public policy nightmare. Housing is critical, and you know, in my work, it's called the forced safety of human self-preservation, where you sleep knowing that no one can eject you
from there.
So right now, I think what needs to happen, the Ministry of Finance, the Ministry of Education, the Central Bank of the Gambia can work together to provide a safety mechanism for teachers, especially young teachers who are just joining the service, and it will make the teaching feel sticky, meaning a young teacher, 26, 27 years old, I give him a 3-bedroom house, a starter home for that matter. Government can amortize this home over a period. What is lacking, and let's call a spade as Gambians, is the political will and empathy. Our politicians and public policy makers don't have empathy for the people who are bankrolling our society, the nurses and dispensers, teachers and police officers. And we have seen them, I mean, I'm sorry to say, but I have once called police uniform beggars. And they don't want to beg, but their condition, which we have conditioned them to be in, is forcing them to do what they're doing. But what is wrong with our politicians to see that these people are people of dignity, and they are the bank rollers of societal order, be it in the security form, or the knowledge form, or the curative form in nurses and dispensers. And we have shortchanged them, and we have failed them.
Absolutely. You might, being a lecturer, you are a teacher of one sort or the other.
I am.
You had all what the GT you've been doing. To sum it up.
I just want to say that the idea has been sold to me again. It has been sold to me before. I haven't joined the union yet, but I have colleagues who are there and who have been trying so hard to convince me. Hopefully. The UTG have tried also, I think 2 years ago, to establish our own credit union, but we haven't come to terms because majority of our members are also members of the GTU, CCU. But I just wanted to say your presence here is very enlightening for me, and I'm happy that you're here because just earlier this week, I had an audience with members who are private teachers from private institutions. And the reason why they wanted audience with us is to share their plight on what is currently happening to them. The fact that other teachers who are working in public institutions are being paid by the government, but their institutions are not paying them, and they have families to take care of. They have rent to pay. They have food to put on the table. And they are not also lucky to belong to a sort of a strong union that other members of your organization might have had the opportunity to do.
Good.
So currently they are trying to raise funds, they're trying to talk to philanthropists to raise funds. But I'm happy that you're here to make the call, to call them to come on board to see you guys and see what you can do for them, and hopefully they're listening.
Yes.
Yeah.
Finally, Mr. Babakar Juf, we're wrapping up now. What, just go back, what would the teachers now look out for from the union during this emergency?
Yeah, I know in the next couple of days, a statement will be coming from the Office of the General Secretary, because coordination is also taking place globally. We belong to a global movement. Education International had a webinar last week looking at this situation, because almost in all countries, teachers are asked to stay at home. What's the implication of all this, and what's the future looking like for us? We will be making a statement. But what is important for now is for us to follow the guidelines. if we want this society to continue, we must come out of this denial. There is a lot of denial in society. Absolutely. It's not going to do any good for anybody. We need to follow the guidelines. We need to listen to our union. We are talking, the leadership is talking regarding what we think we need to do, engage our employers, that is government and other private employers of teachers, and come up with a formula. Because really the idea of a stimulus is necessary, both for the institutions and the individuals. And if you do it for the institutions, my assumption will be it should radiate down to the beneficiaries. If you do it for the individuals, it will sort of snowball to the institutions. Exactly. So either ways, whatever government is receiving in terms of support, the union will look forward to this being sort of not dished out, but tactically shared with private institutions to ensure that teachers continue to be in employment. 10 years ago, more than half of the teachers in the senior secondary schools were non-Gambians. And what triggered that, there were wars in Sierra Leone, Liberia, and other places. So they migrated to Gambia. Currently, 90% of the teachers about are Gambians. Wow. So they have nowhere to go. Exactly. If we are not getting our salaries anymore, whether in the private or in the public, we are teaching Gambian children. Something should be done. I don't know how that is going to happen. We need the technicians to come up with that intuition to ensure that these monies being pledged, the resources being made available to government, helps to keep the civil service intact. So that after all this, we need the teachers back in the classrooms. If we fail to do that, and those people fall by the wayside, they will take up other opportunities, because one thing you cannot do is to stay without food, without housing, without the basic necessities. And I think that is the advice I would have for government. We as a union will continue the advocacy to ensure that post-COVID education is on a continuum. And if there is anything else I can add, is about a quick fix to sort out the examination deficit that we are about to face. That will have a lot of implications for the population. For example, if grade 12s and 9s are asked to repeat the year, you don't have space in grade 1 to recruit those school-going age children in the villages. So what you are doing then is September 2021, you have double the number of students you should be recruiting in 2020.
And then it goes up.
And then you don't have the classrooms, you don't have the furniture, you don't have the teachers. Then again, you crowd, they overcrowd the classrooms. Effectiveness of teaching becomes a question, resources become deficient, and then we have a problem. Managing that backlog. And then the university, Gambia College, they will not also be recruiting. There are people who failed to gain admission last year, or had admission, deferred their admission. They are waiting on the peripheries for an opportunity to go to year 1. So if no one is moving, but I think examinations are conducted in an ideal situation, with spacing. You know, I had no problem coming
even in the best of times.
I would have said,
otherwise the Badabunkas will spy
exactly.
And,
So really, I think these are things that we all need to focus on. And finally,
But based on your expertise, before you sign up, do you see, how soon do you think you see schools reopening under the circumstances?
You know, you just talked about this change that took place. It affected the Ministry of Basic and Secondary Education.
The shuffling of...
the permanent secretary who was in charge of the beginning of COVID-19 is now going to agriculture. And we have somebody who is coming from outside the ministry. He may be skilled, KSA, very well, perfect, but the experience of running education, you know, I'm not evaluating.
It's a problem.
I'm not assessing.
I know.
You know, but the reality is he would take some days to learn. I'm not seeing the opening of schools take place in the immediate future, which is not going to be good. If the rules are followed and we are able to stop the spread, we should be able to go back to school, even if the term is shifted. Because we are currently in the third term, ideally.
So
if we are starting the third term in June, and it runs to August, we have the whole of September as holidays. We are still good to recover.
But then if it's beyond that...
But if it goes beyond June, we can only defer the year and start in September.
Cancel the whole year.
And that's going to be a disaster in my little education experience.
Babukar Juf, the General Manager of the Gambia Teachers Union, Credit Union. There are so many U's in your initials, so I sometimes get confused. But look, you have been fantastic in letting us to know more about the union, and we wish you all the best. We'll have a short break, and then we will have a short but hot topic when we come back.
Mr. Juf, thank you so much.
Thank you.
If you ever think of buying good quality meat at unbeatable price, think Magilak Butchers, your only suitable solution for quality meat for you and your family consumption. Our comprehensive range of meat products include minced meat, beef slices, topside, knuckle, rump steak, silver side, tenderloin, strip loin, and forequarter. We offer consistent value, quality, and service through animals grass-fed and bred, especially for their meat. This makes the meat much more tasty, succulent, tender, and easy to cook. All meats at Magilak Butchers are halal, including for the first time in the Gambia, the new Mongolian whole lamb, available only at Magilak Butchers. Rush now and visit Magilak Butchers on Caraba Avenue, opposite the Petrogas petrol station traffic lights. For inquiries and orders, please call 7688-688. That is 7688-688. Magilak Butchers, the home of quality meat and chicken products at unbeatable prices.
Welcome back to the brunch, and finally, the United Democratic Party, UDP, which a couple of weeks back had written a letter expelling their elected chairman in West Coast, Sirifo Sonko, have now written back to say his case, that's the expulsion case, has been referred to the executive. Of course, this followed, claims, rather responses from Mr. Sonko, who said his expulsion was illegal. Now, is he right? Is this recent action by the UDP a case of a false start, or have they have a change of mind? In any case, a bit of an embarrassment for the party. Am I right or wrong? Nima?
Oh, it seems like it. It seems like an embarrassment. But also, I think in the first place, if you ask me, this shouldn't have happened. We have very few years to go. It's just an act of vindictiveness, and the chairman has called them out on it. And to go back now, I think the chairman, what he did was to set a trap for them. He knew the UDP could remove him if he wanted, if due process was being followed. But the way that he handled things was to push them to a corner in order to make them to resort to taking legal matters. And as we have seen with the Yakumba case, this takes months, if not years, to conclude. So all in all, it was going to be a loss for the UDP. We can imagine if they were to go to the courts, it would be until after elections before a verdict.
2022, when
exactly,
the time
before a verdict comes out. So in other words, the chairman was just going to continue to be in his position until then.
So they said at the beginning that they never even wanted to act in this fashion, because even though they saw a loophole in the laws which they can capitalize on, the Local Government Act, but they never wanted to do that. Anything that Jammeh was using, to absorb power all by himself, they didn't want to do that. But the chairman's action was quite unruly to the party, so they had no choice, and the party stakeholders down in West Coast wanted him out.
Yeah, I think there is another source of embarrassment.
They have either blundered in seemingly admitting that they have not taken the right procedures, as the chairman had said, or maybe they have a change of heart. They could say, well, okay, maybe we just leave him go until 2022. In which case, of course, they will lose face in the opinion of the public. Mr. Njie.
Well, there's three fundamental issues here that we need to address. There's a problem of legality, a problem of morality, and a problem of ethics.
Wow. So which one comes into play? All of them?
Number one, you cannot free ride on something you don't believe in. So the chairman must be morally upright to say, I am no longer UDP, I'm going to move on. That's the moral thing to do.
To resign?
Yes, because if you are a member of a party, you believe in the goals and aspirations of the party.
Yeah.
And according to them, his decisions contravenes the interests of the party. So he no longer serves the interests of the party. He should not even wait to be kicked out. But that is the moral deficit that is so prevalent with our political class.
All right.
On the ethical side of it, the chairman must be conscientious enough to say, I am a person of conscience, and I know my heart doesn't lie with this organization anymore, so I'm not going to free ride on their goodwill.
I see.
Legally, every Gambian is protected by law. UDP is a private organization, and they can have their private bylaws. Now, I don't know whether their private bylaws have infringed on any electoral law that we have that protects Mr. Sonko. But Mr. Sonko should not wait for a legality clause to preserve his dignity. As an individual, he should be morally obligated to say that with or without my personal interests, I have to step aside from this organization because I don't believe in what this organization is doing. But what he has shown to the people of Brikama and the KM area that he serves, that he is not a trustworthy person because his personal self-preservation supersedes any other decision he takes. Such a person should not be allowed to be a leader of the people.
Well,
let me come here, and that's for both of you. The Local Government Act says if you cease to become, when you cease to become a member of the party that sponsored your elections, then automatically your seat became vacant. All right. Now it didn't say how you cease to become, whether you've been expelled or you resign, or whether this expulsion is according to that party's rule or not. It just said when you cease to become a member of the party. For all intents and purposes, the initial UDP letter is suggesting that the man is expelled. What does that, the right or wrongs of that expulsion, what does that have to do with the Local Government Act?
Well, the first issue here is what is a member? What really makes up membership? Number one. Number two, he has been truant, meaning absent in the processes of the party as it relates to politics, meaning he hasn't attended meetings. So now I think the party has rights. I think he also may be protected somehow because due process wasn't duly followed. But I'm putting all that aside and I'm saying that every human being must be conscientious enough. We should have a moral compass based on what we do. And basically such a person like Sirifo Sonko, I don't know him, but what I know of him mean he is an opportunist. He is riding on a bandwagon that he doesn't believe in. And the people who voted him in to office should now know that this is the type of person he is. Forget about UDP. I'm talking about his leadership credentials and his ethical standards. Those two he has faltered.
Yeah. So here's what I'm going to say. I agree with you 100% about Sirifo, and my argument was not even about him. Sirifo has failed the people of Bak for so many years now. Because I'm from Brikama and I know the devastation that's happening there, especially with the forest that has completely been destroyed now, with the market that is remaining unkept. there is no service coming from that person. But again, that is a failure you can also attribute to the UDP, because this is a guy who was handpicked by the UDP and was campaigned for by the UDP, and it was the people of UDP that voted this person into office. So you ask the question.
And they knew his limited capacity.
Exactly. So if we're speaking in terms of morality, we ask the question, would the UDP would have wanted to remove Sirifo Sonko from office if he had remained loyal to the party?
Yes.
And that is the reason why I said their act in the first place was an act of vindictiveness.
Vindictiveness, because he wanted to, of course he had a moral
because
problem.
he has shifted his loyalty somewhere.
Well, you have to understand one thing.
Yeah.
Politics, unfortunately, like the Greeks will say, is a game of vested interests. Sirifo Sonko has ceased to serve the vested interests that perpetuated his
Remember,
existence.
we are speaking in terms of morality.
No. I'm just saying, that's why I said there are three issues here. The legal aspect of it, the moral, that's the individual, yourself. So now I am saying he has become a political animal and will fight his fight as a political animal, meaning conscience, morals, and ethics
are all sacrificed.
Are all out there. And what I'm saying, me as a voter, that's how I'm going to profile a would-be candidate that I'll have to cast my vote for. So that's what I'm saying.
But did we have a larger picture of this in the 3 years Jordan versus Barrow for 5 years? It's similar.
Well, then again, I mean, I think we are in a country that is in search of an identity, and the identity is begging for political maturity and political sophistication. Gambia as a country lacks political maturity, lacks political sophistication, hence our politics have been politics of personalities. And this is what we need to fight, and this is why Sirifo Sonko is now at the headlines in terms of politics, not what he has done, but the person. And that's why we are where we are.
So you will take it that the UDP has been asked to eat the apple pie. They have two choices now. Would they, from the tune of these letters, they say that it's referred to the executive. It looks like it's still unfinished business there. It didn't sound to me as if they have given up totally.
Yeah. But the press release we saw was that they rescinded their decision. I think it was when their spokesperson was being contacted to comment, and he said the matter is with the executive. But here's what I want. I think the UDP...
see a situation where they will call Mr. Sonko and say, well, now, all right, we will work together. You're going to now go by the party's dictation?
No. I don't see that.
I don't think from the UDP's perspective, I don't think it's no longer about Sirifo Sonko or the other members of parliament that they have suspended. I think the UDP had reflected and they are taking an easy way out of this. The fact remains that they can either go ahead with their decision and not have the outcome that they want, because at the end of the day, they can declare, they can kick Sirifo out of their party, yet the authorities are supposed to take up from there to ensure that he is being removed from office. Would not do that.
Well, then there's lawlessness in the country.
That's the point. The point here is therefore they will be forced to go to the courts,
I think
which they have a right to do so, but that will be a prolonged process.
The issue that I see, Mr. Cham, the issue that I've seen is maybe UDP is trying to have a remedy. Remedy in terms of procedure, a procedural remedy. We should have done point A before we write the letter. So now maybe they're going back to the drawing board and exhaust the remedies. But for me, that is a private matter. The matter here is our act, the law of the land. As imperfect as the law is, it still remains the law of the land. If the law of the land is not enforced by the enforcers, then we live in a kangaroo country
because of the same here's a very important point that you make. Even with the act itself, it says that when a candidate is being recalled or when a candidate is being expelled from their, not a candidate, a serving elected person is being expelled from their party, they cease to be in charge of that position. But it doesn't, I mean, procedurally, it doesn't explain how that is supposed to happen. And I think that's where now we need to...
Well, there's precedent.
Exactly. There was one precedent.
So that's it. That becomes the norm.
I mean, it's more or less the same as what happened in Kerr
and
what is going to happen in the National Assembly. No, the National Assembly, that one didn't try, it died. But then,
it's the same vested political interest.
True.
If the UDP felt that this guy has now, left our party, is now running the interests of the NPP, whatever that means, from Barrow, and the NPP also felt that this is one chairman now we can work with, he has moved. So, I mean, the officials will not implement the mandate they've given under the laws to call by-elections or to inform the IEC to call by-elections.
It wasn't supposed to happen that way, though, because they have a responsibility.
But you see, these are the weaknesses inherent in our system. The taxpayer, you and me and everybody else, have paid for rice, sugar to be bought and distributed to the people. Governance is a bottom-up approach, not a top-down. The people live in wards. The wards are controlled by municipalities and councils. And we know that in the distribution process, they've been left out. The National Disaster Management Agency is nothing but a facilitator, but not an executioner. That's one. Secondly, in economic terms, we have what you call arbitrage. Arbitrage is if I see an opportunity, and I make advantage of that opportunity without having zero investment, and I still make a return. Now, we know that there are people in Gambia floating around with contracts to supply 10,000 bags of rice. We know that they don't even have $5,000 in their account. But they will go to a Mauritanian warehouse owner. I have a contract to supply 10,000 bags of rice. It's costing $12 million. Here is the deal. Give me 10,000 bags of rice. I'll give you a security. I'll deliver the rice. You take 11 million and I keep 1 million. What a very, very bad way of spending taxpayer money when the government could have gone straight to the importers, buy the rice and give it to the intended recipients and save the government money. What has happened in this COVID response?
Well, according to what I heard was that, particularly dealing with this rice and oil that the government provided, is there was a bidding. They said they were in a hurry. They opened the bids transparently, and they also considered the local businesses that are in the country, and I think they distributed it. The big importers got 30% or so, the smaller ones got the rest of it, and they made it sure that every little business which has been affected by this COVID got something.
But Lami, no little business has a stock of 10,000 bags of rice. That's meant for wholesalers. Let's be honest with each other. Political patronage played a significant role in this, and we are a country with scarce resources. So all these cushions, creams, fat that we have given to people could have gone to our hospitals. So the point I am making is a very, very inefficient way of using public funds.
It's also a corrupt way of doing things.
Well, there we go. We can never exhaust this topic, but we will be back next week, certainly, when we will have perhaps a UDP and the NPP represented, and perhaps a local government official to interpret all this for us. But today we have, I think we have covered enough. We had the Gambia Gambia Trade Union Workers, Congress Secretary General Gaba Cham, on what a unique May Day it was. And we had Babukar Juve of the Gambia Teachers Union, Credit Union, also telling us what his union is doing in these trying times. So, on behalf of those gentlemen and Njie Kamara from the University of the Gambia and our economist in the house, Njie, we wish you a great weekend. Goodbye.
Are you thinking of owning your dream homes? Njie Investment is here for you. Secure our quality bungalows with 2, 3 or 4 bedrooms, or our story buildings 3 or 4 to 5 bedrooms at very affordable prices with flexible payment plans at our Sanyang Seaview Estate, where you can enjoy the cool breeze with modern infrastructure such as tar roads, covered drainage system, modern electrification with street lights, gated entrance with security posts, and social amenities such as gas station, shopping mall, medical clinic, park, schools, children daycare, and a lot more. Our dedicated team of professionals will keep the estate clean at all times, provide security and patrol team within the estate premises, install latest technologies such as CCTV, Wi-Fi, home network installation, solar panel, and power backup system. Also, check out for our additional home facilities and interior design service such as premium tiling, wall plaster, home landscape, fingerprint home lock, and a lot more. Visit our office at Senegambia Kololi Highway and get a free site visit tour, or contact us on 4464-838. WhatsApp us on 3259-220. Or you can visit our Facebook page or Instagram on EJ Investments. EJ Investments, we are first in properties.
Nambe kalele badde lomba conference lomba workshop lomba ye fofe nilon dunia kono domoro betama nilom international otoda number 1
amange ba domo la jang damman
esa domo jang is atariya
wo mu kubandi
sa na ko sa futandin
oto sa na ko be mu CK's restaurant
dafa na janna mu yat ni manje dorom bijam
aban
CK's restaurant, known for best quality food and customer satisfaction.
Miss V Designer Outlet is the #1 quality and affordable stop shop for all your needs. Get your evening dresses, suit and ties, office wears for both ladies and gentlemen, beach wears, sport wears, pure leather shoes for men, quality belts, bags, heels for our beautiful ladies, original perfumes, accessories, and a lot more. call us on 295-3411 or 764-2486. Miss B Designer Outlet. Shop right, look good.
Love like fire. Wow. Love like fire. Xam ngeen rek affaire bi xam ngeen fan la? Skincare la. 2020 lañ wax de. Waaw. Fii nag mooy Kerr fan Kerr zero tache. Perfect skin. Skincare saa su ne rek niñ ko dee defee rek. Loo lañ soxlaati rek. Maanaam bu dee am problème ci seen skin yéen xam ngeen fan la fii ngeen di ñëw suma xarit yeeg am di jàmm yi nga xam ne taas daf lañ sonaloon xam nga doon xeesal ba laka xum éneew ma lañ ko nag waaye just in case comme ni ko gars yi di waxee rek en cas just in case loolu xew xam ngeen fi ngeen di ñëw Skincare Plus si yu baax rek la ñoo dox nag ay baax rek fu ne la ñoo dem ci réew mi di lañ We do dresses as well. We do blouses. I mean, we do shoes. Name it, we do them. Skincare Plus 2020 is our year of perfection. Zero task. Fi mu nekk nii réew mi fii kenn waratu fi task. Kenn waratu fi am problème kanam. Kenn waratu fi am problème picture. Boo ko amee dafa fekk ne rek ñëwuloo ci place bi fii.